Welcome back to Halfmoon Techlabs. Today we're down in the Halfmoon Brew Lab. And that can only mean one thing. We're going to make some beer. Today we're going to make something I'm going to call Halfmoon Heavy. It's an experiment. Probably a terrible idea. Basically it's going to be an Imperial Stout type beer. And towards the end of the boil I'm going to throw in a few pounds of leftover Halloween chocolate candy. Just a real quick brewery tour. We'll do something a little more in depth later, but so this is a 3-vessel system. We have the hot liquor tank, fancy name for a hot water tank, that has a 5,500 watt element in it, controlled by this controller, which I built a few years ago. I took an old Inkbird and actually modified it so that now it can handle 240 volts at 30 amps. There's a twist lock in the back with the electric 5,500 watt element inside. And that's what it looks like inside. Down at the bottom there's what's called a ripple element. Basically a food grade stainless steel heating element. And anyway, the center one is the mash tun. It has insulation on it to help maintain the temperature during the mashing process, which takes approximately an hour. And the boil kettle. The boil kettle has not one but two 5,500 watt elements in it. And that is where the sweet wort will be moved over here, boiled. This is where we're going to do our hop additions. It's where we're going to do the infusion of the other ingredients here shortly. And we even have some dark grains to bring up the color and change the flavor a little bit for the style of beer we're making. This is controlled by the other Halfmoon Techlabs. So actually it says on the bottom Halfmoon Brew Labs. But that is a home-built PID controller for the boil and mashing control. All thermostatically controlled, choice of automatic or manual control, and of course the control goes to 11. Why wouldn't it? Okay, this is the mill. Built this a few years ago, multi-horsepower 3-roller monster mill. This thing's a beast. It'll rip through. Let's see, this one has 32 pounds of malt in it, and that malted barley is going to go through this in I mean, just like that. You'll get to see it. There's all the brewing accoutrements. And over here, of course, we have the fermentor, hot washed, sterilized, ready to go. There's the CIP pump. We won't be using that today, but that I built in a previous episode. And we have over here, we've got the large scale, and there's one of my grain bins, and so I'll weigh out the grain, drop it into the mill, shoot, and then we'll start the mill and we'll grind that up. And that's going to be doughed in over here on the mash tun. All right, so let's get to weighing up some brewing salts. All right, for brewing salts, we're going to use some Epsom salts. Need some phosphoric for later. Gypsum. Some baking soda. Regular kosher salt. And a little bit of calcium chloride. All right, let's add these salts. Be careful, that water is 165 degrees right now. So the reason why we do this is because this water chemistry can be very variable. So what I do is I rip all my water down with reverse osmosis, but that basically makes it roughly the same chemistry as distilled water. It's pretty much just water minus all of the salts that are normally present in regular drinking water. So what I'm doing is I'm adding all the elements that would be normally present in the type of water that I'd like to brew with to get it up to the brewing standard. So for this particular type, we're going to add these salts because for this this type of stout, you really need, or this type of beer, which is a stout, you really need you need a certain combination of these things so it tastes right. Okay, we'll let those dissolve for a while. Come back and check it in a bit. Okay, for this recipe, we need 32 pounds of this particular malted barley. Here's the malted barley we're going to be using. Okay, we need 32 pounds, so we're going to put in 2 buckets of 16 pounds into the hopper. All right, here we go. 32 pounds of grain with the 3-roller mill. Let's see how long it takes. And go. Nice crush. All right, just a few seconds over 3 minutes. Nice. Okay, so now we have 32 pounds of milled malted barley. Here we go. Ready for mashing. All right, let's transfer some water from the hot liquor tank to the mash tun. Get ready to dough in our grain. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to put the grain into the water. It's called doughing in. There we go. So once all this grain is in here, what's going to happen is there's going to be a conversion. The enzymes that are naturally present in the malted grain, which is why they malt, by the way, will activate at a certain temperature. That's why we're using hot water. Too hot, you'll kill off the enzymes. Too cold, you won't activate them. So there's a narrow window where it works very well. And that is going to begin the process of the enzymes breaking down all of the starches from the grain into simpler sugars, which the yeast can then digest. Ooh, it feels good. Okay, when you're done, it's going to have the consistency of kind of a porridge, kind of a thin porridge. Make sure there's no dough balls. One little dough ball, okay, got it. Looks good. And that's what it looks like after it's all in there. Okay, we're going to start our timer, let that go for an hour. All right, we have all of our grains in now, including the dark grains that we added to establish some color and a little extra flavor. And right now we're doing what's called Vorlaufting. Normally I pump this. Right now I'm doing a manual Vorlauf just to see how clear it is. And as you can tell, it looks pretty good. A few floaties in there. What we're going to do is just keep slowly draining off the bottom and adding it back on top, and eventually this will create a filtration bed made of the grain itself and all the husks. And you keep doing it, and as it mashes, it will continue to clarify itself. And then when we get ready to pour it off or run it off into our boil kettle for our boil, it will be nice and clear and not a lot of floaties. We've also we did the math correctly on the temperature. You can see that right now we're just measuring the temperature of the mashing on top. You can see we're around 149 and change, which is exactly what I wanted to be at. And which is, we started with 165 degrees strike water, and if you calculate the mass of the water, the cold mass of the metal, and the grain, there's a little calculation that you can do to figure out exactly how much water at what temperature to add to all your grain, so that when they're finally mixed and they stabilize, they will be at proper temperature for the enzyme conversion, which is what's happening now. So we're just going to continue to Vorlauf until we're ready to run off into the boil kettle. Better start stripping candy bars. That's going to be the next step after we get in here. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left before we're done, so we're going to give this a quick check. Ooh. That looks really good. Oh, wow. That's great. All right, we're going to check the gravity, the refractometer. about 1071. That's about right. Nice. All right, so when we hit our set point here, we will start running it off into the boil kettle. All right, we just finished running off the mash tun into the boil kettle. Last little bit of dribblings there, but anyway, we're going to start the boil. I just turned on one controller. I'm going to flip on the other ones. We're going to have 11,000 watts going to this thing right about now. Here we go. This will come to a boil pretty quickly, and then we're going to boil for 60 minutes. And as soon as it strikes a boil, we're going to drop in some of the hops, and then we have other adds that we're going to do later. And while it's boiling, I'm going to be slowly adding all of these, what may be the big mistake, but the chocolate, all this candy is going to go in here and drive the gravity of the beer up so that it'll be a high alcohol, chocolatey stout with a peanut butter finish to it, hopefully. So we'll see how it works. All right, we are just starting to boil, so we're going to add the hops. The first hop add, this is going to be in for the full 60 minutes of the boil. Go. Okay, first hop add is done. Right, so now I'm infusing the chocolate. I'm just putting them in this sieve and gently lowering it in here, just kind of ladling hot wort over the top of it. Just waiting for the chocolate to melt. I don't care about the cookies; those won't ferment. I don't want that garbage in there, so I'm just doing this manually to get the chocolate in there. Alrighty. There we go. So there's all the junk I don't care about. There's cookies and all kinds of solids that won't make it into the beer now. So now we just have all the chocolate and the sugar inside here. Take a gravity reading, see if we need to add a little more sweetness to it. And we still have half an hour left in the boil. Okay, our gravity is at the proper number, and now I'm going to, I just added the Vorlauf and some yeast nutrient. We're going to let it go for 15 more minutes, and then during that time, I'm going to sterilize the heat exchanger. This is what I'm going to use to cool the wort before we transfer it into the fermenter. So I'm just going to drop it right into the boil to sterilize all this stainless and everything. Alright, we'll get the cooling water hooked up and be ready to go here in about 12 minutes. Okay, I've shut the boiler off, and we've got the heat exchange coil inside there. I'm running city water through the stainless coil that's picking up heat and discharging it to the drain. We're not putting any more water inside here. The beer is pretty much done now. It just needs to be cooled so that it's at the proper temperature to pitch the yeast. And when this gets down to the proper temperature, when it's down to around 80 degrees or so, I'm going to start pumping it into the fermenter, and then we'll throw in our yeast, and we're off to the races. And here we go, cooling. We're at 95 degrees. Very quickly, we'll be able to shut this off. Here's what I'm doing for cooling. Got a regular city water hose connection here. This is my RO faucet. So the supply, cold water from the house, is going into the coil, but not into the beer. It's just picking up heat and discharging it down this hot side hose and into the pour drain. That's it. It's not as wasteful as you think. The water actually only runs for a few minutes. This actually drops the temperature super fast. Like I said, when it gets down around 80, 85 degrees, I will stop it and transfer all of the sweet wort from the boil kettle into the fermenter. This is my conical fermenter, all stainless, already been sanitized. I have the yeast prepared over here. Mix of 2 yeasts I'm going to do in this one. Some Loki, which is a Kvike yeast line, and some Darkness. That's the other yeast. And yes, this is a sticky mess. Okay. Okay, lid's on. Now we're going to transfer into the fermenter. I'm going to fill the fermenter with the contents of this boil kettle. Then I'm going to bubble some oxygen into it. Yeast like oxygen initially. During their aerobic phase, when they're multiplying and getting established, they need oxygen. And then you seal this up and you don't let any more air in. That's it. That's all the oxygen they're going to need. They'll consume the remaining oxygen. Then they'll flip over to anaerobic. And they're going to start converting all the sugars in here into CO2 and alcohol and making delicious beer. All right, so we have the bubble stone in here. Right now it's dissolving oxygen into the beer and it's filling the headspace inside here with all pure oxygen. We'll let that go for a couple minutes, and as soon as it's done, I'll pull that out, give it a quick spritz with a sanitizer, seal it up, and then that's it. This thing will now just need to be fed into the blow-off bucket, and fermentation will begin within the next day or so. Okay, and there we go. The contents have been transferred to the stainless conical. You can see we're at 83 degrees. I've already pitched the yeast and oxygenated it, and now we're just ready to wait for fermentation to start. That's it. So the rest is up to Mother Nature, and we'll check it again tomorrow and see if she's bubbling. If we're lucky, it might be bubbling tonight. Now, the last thing is to clean up this. Looks like a bomb went off in here. Now comes the cleanup. Okay, next day. Everything's cleaned up. Did that last night before I went to bed. Here's the fermenter. Around 15 gallons, give or take, in there. Running at about 73 degrees. Yeast is already chugging. It actually just started a little while ago and it's speeding up really fast. So this is going to be probably a really active fermentation. Plenty of sugar in there, and it's going to be chewing for a few days now. So anyway, can't wait to find out how it came out. It smelled and tasted great when I was making it, so I have high hopes. But it was an experiment. It's the first time I've done a big, nasty chocolate infusion like that with actual candy bars. Anyway, we'll find out how it came out. But thanks for tuning in to Halfmoon Techlabs. Again, down in the Halfmoon Brew Lab. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.